Today we are looking at proportional reasoning, and in this question we are going to use equivalent ratios and proportions to solve a directly proportional relationship. The question we are looking at says that two stores are advertising specials on oranges. Store A charges $4.24 for 8 oranges, and Store B charges $5.52 for 12 oranges. But oranges are sold individually. So we need to find out how much less would 30 oranges cost at Store B than Store A. And we are going to justify our answer. So let's think about what we do know in this question and what information we do not know. Well, we do know the cost for 8 oranges from Store A, and we know the cost of 12 oranges from Store B. But what we don't know is the cost of 30 oranges from either of the stores. Do we know how much it costs for 1 orange from either of the stores? How can we use that information to figure out how much it costs for 30 oranges? We are going to use variables to define what we do not know. So we're going to let X represent the cost of 30 oranges from Store A, and we're going to use Y to represent the cost of 30 oranges from Store B. We're also going to use equivalent ratios to solve this problem. Well, since a ratio is a comparison of two quantities, we need to figure out what is it that we are comparing. Well, we're looking at cost and number of oranges. So we're going to set up a ratio of number of oranges and cost. For every 8 oranges, we pay $4.24. Now I'm writing my ratio as a fraction. In this column, we're comparing the number of oranges to the cost. At this rate, we have to figure out how much will it cost for 30 oranges. So what information do we know here? Well, we do know the number of oranges, so I'm going to write that as the numerator so that it is in line with my other number of oranges. If we have 30 oranges, do we know the cost? No, we don't. So we're going to use X to represent the cost of 30 oranges, as we stated below. Now we've just written two statements using proportions, and a proportion is a statement that two ratios are equal. So I'm going to set these two equal to one another because we're paying for the oranges at the same rate. Now to solve this, I'm going to find the cross product. I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to multiply the numerator 8 by the denominator from the other fraction, which is x. 8 times x can be written as 8x. And then I'm going to multiply the denominator, 4.24, multiply it by the numerator from the other fraction. So this is equal to 4.24 times 30. So let's simplify the right side of the equation. 8x equals 127.20. I need to isolate for x because I want to know what x is equal to, because that will tell me how much 30 oranges cost. Well, right now on the left side of the equation we have 8x, which means 8 multiplied by x. To isolate x, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to divide by 8. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other to keep it balanced. So I'm going to divide the right side of the equation by 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1. So 1x equals 127.20 divided by 8, which gives me 15.9. And I know that my x represents the cost of 30 oranges, which means that the cost of 30 oranges is $15.90 from Store A. Now I need to find the cost of 30 oranges for Store B. So we're going to solve this using the same method, but this time I'm going to write my comparison as cost over number of oranges, just to show you a different way of writing this. The cost is $5.52 for every 12 oranges. Now I need to know the cost for 30 oranges. So our unknown, which is y, is cost. Am I going to write that as the numerator or the denominator? We're going to write it as the numerator, since numerator is where I represent the cost, and that is our unknown. We do know the number of oranges, which is 30. And once again, because these ratios are equal, because this is a proportional relationship, we're going to use the cross product. We're going to cross multiply again to solve this. So 12 times y can be written as 12y, and 5.52 multiplied by 30. We're going to simplify that. 12y equals 165.6. And how are we going to isolate y? We're going to divide both sides of the equation by 12. Whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other side. I'm left with just y, and 165.6 divided by 12 is equal to 13.8. And I know that y represents the cost of 30 oranges from store B. Therefore, 30 oranges from store B costs $13.80. Now that we've calculated the cost of 30 oranges from each store, it's easier to make a comparison. Well, which store is cheaper? Right, store B is cheaper because for the same number of oranges, we're paying less money. Well, how much cheaper is it? To find the difference between the two costs, we're going to use subtraction. If store A is $15.90 and store B is $13.80, well, how much cheaper is it? How much money do we save? Let's calculate this using subtraction, and we have $2.10. Therefore, we've answered the question, store B costs $2.10 less than store A for a total of 30 oranges. Do you think you could find out how much it costs for one orange? Can you find out how much it costs for 5 oranges, or 10 oranges, or 15 oranges? And could you use this information to compare the two stores? Why don't you try that? And check out the playlist for other ways of solving this problem, because there's not always one way to solve a question in math. There's multiple representations for the same question.